Luna is Anti Hermione, JK Rowling. How weird is this statement? Could it be the key to understanding Luna's mysteriously odd personality? JK created many eccentric characters in her wizarding world, but Luna Lovegood definitely tops the list. Let's find out what the deep reason behind her weirdness is.
You're just as sane as I am.
The obvious answer hides in Luna's childhood. At the age of 9, her mother Pandora Lovegood tragically died, and it was only in the Order of the Phoenix that Luna spoke about the horrible incident. She was quite an extraordinary witch, but she did like to experiment, and one of her spells went rather badly wrong one day. Yes, it was rather horrible. This scene is the only time in the books that Luna shares her pain about losing her mom. I still feel very sad about it sometimes, but I've still got Dad. And anyway, it's not as though I'll never see Mom again, is it? For some of you, this line may sound like another of Luna's dreamy beliefs, but actually, it does make sense in the wizarding world. Remember how Luna was able to see thestrals?
You're not going mad. I can see them too.
Just like Harry, who saw Cedric's death, Luna was closer to the spirit world than the rest of the Hogwarts students. And Luna also heard those voices from beyond the veil in the Ministry of Magic that Harry could hear.
There aren't any voices, Harry. Let's get out of here.
I hear them too.
So when Luna suggested she might meet her mother again, she didn't mean in the afterlife, but rather through something magical, like that veil, for example. Facing her mother's passing away helped Luna to easier accept death as an act of life.
We should close his eyes. Don't you think?
We know very little about Pandora Lovegood. Obviously, she was an extraordinary and talented witch, because creating spells in the wizarding world is a pretty challenging thing to do. We also know from the Deathly Hallows book that Luna looked more well-groomed when her mom was still alive. There's a scene in the book where Harry visits the Lovegoods' house. Besides the bed, he sees a photograph of a young Luna and a woman who looked very like her. They were hugging. Luna looked rather cleaner and more cared for in this picture than Harry had ever seen her. This may lead us to conclude that Luna wasn't that much of a weirdo when Pandora was alive, and that maybe it was Luna's father, Xenophilius, who affected her after Pandora's death. According to what we know from the books, this man looked even weirder than he did in the movies. Slightly cross-eyed, with shoulder-length white hair, the texture of candy floss. He wore a white cap whose tassel dangled in front of his nose, and robes of an eye-watering shade of egg yolk yellow. We guess now you don't have any doubts about why Luna at least looks so weird. Talking about her odd beliefs, her father Xenophilius was a publisher and editor of the Quibbler magazine. Yes, that's the magazine Luna is reading when we first meet her in the movie. In case you forgot what the Quibbler is, it's a tabloid full of both conspiracy theories and alternative visions about what was going on in the wizarding world. And since Luna read every issue of the magazine, we can say that it influenced her personality pretty damn much. And at the same time, it created lots of crazy theories, like that Luna is a legilimens. So far, that's the most popular fan theory about Luna according to Ranker.com. Just to remind you, legilimency is something that we muggles call mind reading, and a legilimens is a magician who has perfected this skill. This theory was put on the internet by a Harry Potter fan 3 years ago. I'm beginning to think Luna Lovegood is a legilimens. I started thinking that Queenie in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them talks a lot like her. Then I followed it for a bit and noticed that Luna always seemed to be able to know how people felt and what they wanted to say, he wrote on Reddit. According to this fan theory, Luna might have a downgraded version of this skill. Or maybe she has it in full but just doesn't use it out of politeness?
Come, Daddy. Harry doesn't want to talk to us right now. He's just too polite to say so.
By the way, this particular scene at Bill and Fleur's wedding had an important detail in the book that wasn't shown in the movie. In the Deathly Hallows novel, Harry visits the wedding only after he changes his appearance using Polyjuice Potion. This was a precaution against the Death Eaters. And the interesting thing here is that Luna still managed to recognize Harry. How exactly? Nobody knows. Many fans believe that Luna has some sort of extrasensory abilities. She can see auras, magic, the future, alternate futures, the present, or whatever. That theory was invented by Harry Potter fanfic author and avid reader Niall Jackson. This man went even deeper, suggesting that Luna's strange invisible creatures are actually distortions and shapes in the magical auras, indicating specific issues or spells, which she interprets as beings with traits of inducing those issues. Does that make any sense to you?
Even in the wizarding world, hearing voices isn't a good sign.
Well said, Hermione. But we actually think that Luna is the perfect exception to this rule. While she is indeed weird-looking and eccentric, it doesn't mean that she's absent-minded. Luna isn't someone who only lives days in her cloudy dreams, reading odd articles in her father's eccentric journal. She actually has a will of her own, and she can make things change. Like when she convinced her father to publish a truthful and provocative Harry Potter interview in the Quibbler. You know, the one about Voldemort's return. Well, that act means that Luna can be a game changer, and she proved that many times, both in the movies and the books. Like when Luna helped Harry to find the last Horcrux, Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem.
Harry Potter! You listen to me right now! Don't you remember what Cho said about Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem?
Or when she, Neville, and Ginny risked stealing Gryffindor's sword from Snape's office in the Deathly Hallows. Perhaps that's why Harry and Ginny named their daughter after Luna, Lily Luna Potter, which sounds absolutely fair to us. So the point is, despite being weird, Luna isn't nuts. She's quite the opposite. That's how we get to that very odd statement of JK Rowling's. Luna is Anti Hermione. The quote may sound bizarre, but when you dig into it, it actually starts to make sense. According to wizardingworld.com, JK Rowling said that Hermione's so logical and inflexible in so many ways, while Luna is likely to believe 10 impossible things before breakfast. Hermione can be sassy, while Luna is as passive as the ocean. Hermione is logical, Luna is a dreamer. Hermione is all about the rules, facts, and specifics, while Luna is a free spirit and very airy-fairy.
We fly, of course.
Starting to understand now what JK meant? At the same time, these two characters are both super intelligent, on different levels, of course. While there's no need to prove that Hermione is clever, some fans may not acknowledge that Luna is pretty brainy too. She was sorted into Ravenclaw, right? The house is known for its wit, intellect, and wisdom. And since the Sorting Hat knows exactly what house each wizard belongs to, we need to accept this fact. Luna is indeed intelligent. On an emotional level, her superpower is empathy. Luna can easily feel people in the world she lives in, and that is something that can be called emotional intelligence. The thing that people consider weird and being loony is actually the 80th level of magical empathy, and that's something that Hermione doesn't get.
Everyone, this is Luna Lovegood.
We have another cool theory about Luna, which shows how her weirdness can save lives. Remember how the Chamber of Secrets ended up for Ginny? She was brutally manipulated by the Dark Lord, and it must have been really hard for her to cope after that horror, right? But the thing is, nobody really goes into that in the movies or in the books. It was a Harry Potter fan, Lucy Carmichael, who shared her brilliant theory on Reddit, saying that it was Luna who saved Ginny. According to the theory, Luna supported Ron's sister. They became friends, and that's what helped Ginny to get out of her depressive state of mind. Luna becomes someone who Ginny trusts and helps her cope with such a terrible thing. And Ginny then defends her anytime anyone calls her loony because she knows Luna is a better witch than any of them, but is too kind to defend herself. Not that she can't. Don't know about you, but that sounds like a plausible theory to us. It proves that sometimes what people consider to be weird actually has a deeper meaning and a beauty to it. Do you consider Luna a weirdo? Let us know in the comments. And since you're a big Harry Potter fan, check out these videos too. We're sure you're gonna love them all. Thanks for watching, and take care!